What's up, Nailed It Nation? So we see a lot of success stories out there on the internet, right here on the Nailed It Show. In fact, a lot of really good success stories. And today's guest is no exception to that rule, but we wanted to throw you guys a little curveball, and we wanted to go a little bit deeper and talk about the things that a lot of people don't talk about: the self-doubt, the overcoming challenges, the questioning whether, we're good enough for our own team, for our own family, where we fit into our world and our family and our team, and all of those things that go into our minds as entrepreneurs, as people, as leaders, trying to figure it all out. And there's this sense that, you see on social media, people have it all figured out, right? Well, that just is not the case. So I want to sit down with my good friend today, Hunter Ballew. A lot of you guys know who he is. They really dig into some of those things that go on in our minds as entrepreneurs. We have a really good conversation. Hunter and I have known each other for about 5 years, so it's a really good, casual, friendly conversation. So I hope you enjoy this Nailed It episode with my good buddy, Hunter Ballew. For the people that have been living under a rock for the last few years and maybe don't know who Hunter Ballew is, maybe just give a quick overview on your journey. I know there's a lot of podcasts out there, pretty big platform for people that get to learn more about you, but just kind of an overview for those who are unaware.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me on for one. I know that your audience is in alignment with my values just because I know who you are, and I appreciate your friendship over the years. So glad to be on with you today. Yeah, man. So I am a small town guy from Travelers Rest, South Carolina, the huge metropolis of Travelers Rest. I usually ask that when I speak. I'm like, who knows TR, Travelers Rest, South Carolina? Every once in a while, I spoke at an event in Orlando. Actually, GutterCon, you were asking me about GutterCon. I spoke at that recently, and there's a dude way in the back, like waving his hand. I was like, yes, somebody knows TR.
You get a free t-shirt, bro.
Yeah, I get him one for sure. Small town. I was born and raised here. Ended up staying here. I love it. I don't think I'll ever leave. It has grown a lot over the years, but growing up, parents were into the drug scene. They were addicts. And so I ended up living with my grandparents for a while, kind of split me and my brothers up. And I just wanted to get out of town. Like, I had no intention of going to college. I didn't want to go that route. I just wanted to get out of town, create a name for myself. And so I went to the Marine Corps right out of high school, did that thing. I was in there for 6 years. I did the fire department 5 years full-time as a firefighter at EMT. And I just had this goal from the time I was like 18 years old of, I want to be a millionaire by 30. I want to be a millionaire by 30. I want to be a millionaire by 30. And I've told this story millions of times on podcasts and speaking and all the things, but that's the truth. Like, that's who I was when I was 18 years old. I just wanted to be a millionaire. And I wasn't very smart, still not very smart, but I was smart enough to know that at the fire department, getting $709 every 2 weeks wasn't going to get it done, I made like $24,000 a year when I started there at the fire department. So it worked out like $709 every 2 weeks. And that wasn't going to get it done. So I started some side hustles. My first business was a moving company, hauling and delivery. It's called Upstate Hauling and Delivery, Upstate HD. And I'll never forget that little red, white, and blue logo. I was so proud of it, man. I remember sitting at the firehouse with my good buddy and partner at the fire department, Jordan Howard. And I'm like working on it. How I came up with the business. I actually searched top 10 companies to start in 2012. So I searched it up, and started that business. And, you just learn little things as you go. And I started that. I had an antique shop, and I started to realize the importance of like scalability. And is this something that could be big, or am I going to be handcuffed because it's local and you got to have, it's just not very easy to scale and grow a antique shop or even a moving company. And on the moving company, it was more about profitability and the numbers. And so I did that for a few years, man, just bouncing around, moved into Amazon stuff and then marketing. And that partner of mine, Jordan Howard, actually wrote a book. He's a big centerpiece of that book. Jordan died in September 17th of 2015. He was on his way into work one day, and a guy running from the cops crossed over, hit him head on, killed him instantly. And dude, it shook me up. I was 24, he was 30 at the time. He was one of very few people at the fire department that actually believed in me. It pushed me to chase the entrepreneurial dreams. Most of those people at the fire department were like, no, you need to focus on the fire department, go get your certifications and quit chasing this other stuff. And he believed in me and always pushed me. And so man, it hit me hard. Like I had other people close to me die, but Jordan was the one that was close to me in age too. And it for me, it was that moment that was like, I'm going to make every day count. And that's where Make It Count came from. And so just a couple months later, that was September of 2015, December of 2015, I left the fire department. And so 2016, I'm on my own the whole year. I get into marketing. I land a roofer as a client, help him grow and start getting other roofers. I'm like, man, I just should do this as a case study for myself. So that's where Cornerstone Construction was born. And so 2017 is when I really started getting a little bit more serious about it. I actually started doing roofs in May of 2017. Did like $1 million that year. Next year did like $2 million. And I wasn't really taking it that serious. And towards the end of 2018, I started taking it serious because I had consulted a guy up north and we helped him crush it, blew his company up, had a great run. And I was like, dude, I got to start taking this more serious. And so we did that. And 2019 is when we really buckled down and started taking it serious. So 2019, we did like 5 million. Then 2020 hit our first 8-figure year. 2021 comes around. We get the offer to be balled out. We do that. 12 months goes by. They don't want to pay the rest of what's owed. We get in a big, nasty lawsuit. In the meantime, I've started RoofCon, bought into RepCard, acquired roofing.com, all these things. And so there's a lot of head trash, man, and getting to that lawsuit. Ended up going great. Lasted about 6 months. We came out great. Got to keep the cash that I'd gotten, got to keep millions in shares, and got our company back. And now we're running it, had our best year ever last year after getting it back for a full 12 months. That was awesome. And yeah, it's been a fun run, man. Like the last podcast I was on like two hours ago, the guy was talking about how everyone thinks it's just this overnight success. I know that's cliche and like most people understand that nowadays, but consciously, I don't think or subconsciously, I don't think we do. Like we say like, oh yeah, it's not an overnight success, but you see people in their highlight reel on Facebook and you think like, oh man, he did that so fast. But the reality is RoofCon, you were there. Year 1, 2019, 39 people in a room, dude. And then it went 881 and 2100 and 3400 and 5200. And like it takes time and a lot of heartache. And in 2022, you were there for that too. Hurricane hit during the show. I lost $1 million. A lot of self-doubt. Even from going from 39 people to 3,400 people, everyone's walking up to me during the event like, oh, dude, you got to be so proud of yourself. And I don't know how you keep it together and you're not nervous and yada. And the whole time I'm just like, dude, what the heck? We didn't hit our goals. I let the team down. I let so many people down. I've questioned myself. And I know this is running on. Last thing I'll say to this is if you go to my Facebook page and you look at the banner right now, it's me and Turner, my son. One of my favorite pictures, top 2 pictures I'm going to tell you. The one right now is me and him. I'm behind him doing push-ups at our father-son retreat. He's leading in front of a group of men and their sons. If you scroll back one, the picture before that is a picture of me and him at RoofCon. I'm sitting with my arm around him. And William, our videographer, got this picture, dude. And it, gets me emotional sometimes. But we were watching Tim Tebow speak at RoofCon. And dream come true for me, man. All those people there at that event, 3,400 people, Tim Tebow there, John Maxwell, some of my heroes. And Turner is looking up at me in the picture and just smiling. And he's so happy and he's loving it. And you can see me, if you look at the picture, my tongue is in cheek and I'm biting. Just so frustrated, man. At that event, in that moment, I'm just literally in that moment watching Tim Tebow. I still to this day just remember the emotion. Like so much self-doubt and just questioning like, dude, what should I have done different to make this work? And it took me, a year and a half, after that point, about a year to get through that, man. And so we could talk more about that journey, which is probably the most valuable part, not the money making or any of that. It's just the self-doubt, the seasons of low, the valleys that we go through in entrepreneurship.
Man, I know that picture you're talking about. That is awesome. William is, he's a gem, man. He's a one-of-a-kind guy. I think a lot of people, you mentioned the overnight success thing. Like, I think like we get it, but and myself included, right? I think I'm the exception to the rule. Like, oh yeah, well, it took, it might have taken that guy 12 years, but like, I could do it in 2 because I got this, that, the other thing lined up and I got this skill set or I got this list or whatever. But It's like, we don't know, right? Once we get into it, like, oh, all right. And for me anyway, I've been at this 11 years. It's taken a while. It's taken way longer than I expected, way more money, way more frustration, way more self-doubt. But also I've learned 100 times more than I ever thought I've learned. And I've grown personally, professionally. Like, it's an amazing gift if you can get through that. And we just had Chad Wright on as our 200th podcast episode a couple weeks ago. Are you familiar with him or no?
No, I mean, I've seen him around, but I've never seen any of his content or anything.
Oh, yeah. He's from North Georgia. So you guys kind of talk similar. So y'all get along. But he's done a lot of things in his life. And he said on our podcast, he's like, man, I've been doing this for 17 years. He's like, it's been a journey and I'm just learning and growing every day. And that's really what it is. It's an infinite game. Like, there's no finish line. There's no there. And I know we all want to get to that point where, we get to $1 million or we get the car, or we get the business or whatever that might be. But then if you're like us, anyone listening to this, or like Hunter and I, like, you're just pushing for the next thing. Like, what's next? So,
no, I love what you said about infinite gain. You sent me that book by Sadek, and it's so true, man. Like, it might feel good for a little bit when you hit that goal, when you get that thing, that materialistic thing, but at some point it's going to run dry. You're going to feel empty again. One of my favorite commercials, I don't know if you'd remember this. How old are you?
I'm 43.
43. So you're 10 years older than me. You might remember it. You were growing up in the 90s and like watching Cowboys football probably, and them dominate the 90s. They did this commercial. I don't even remember what brand did the commercial, but Emmitt Smith was doing reps with like 225 or 315 or something. And he would take the bar off the rack and he would bring it out to his chest and he'd rest and say, oh, that feels good. I can rest for a second. And then he'd boom. And then he'd come back down. Oh, I can rest for a second. And the whole point of it is like, we won the championship. I can rest for a minute, but then it's go time. I got to keep after it. Like, so many people, man, I've been saying this quote for years. Never let your latest be your greatest. Just keep pursuing that next mountaintop. Too many people, man, especially when you're looking like small towns and stuff or small industries, like, unless you get into and not to promote RoofCon or anything like Contractor Dynamics, you guys do events, unless you get around a community of people that are going to be bigger and better than you, a lot of times you're not going to keep pushing and pursuing. Like, it's the whole goldfish mentality. Someone said that the other day on a podcast I was on. If you're a goldfish in a bowl this big, you're going to be small. If you surround yourself in a bigger environment, you're going to grow with it. So I think community is everything.
It really is, dude. And that's why I like hanging out with you and the Revolt guys. Like, there's any community. We have our own community. Like, I'm a member of a local mastermind. There's an event next weekend. I'm going to that. So like, it's hard. We get in our own heads, but yeah, you get around like-minded people, and not just like-minded people. You get around people that are like operating at higher levels. I know you're really good at that. Intentionally putting yourself in those situations. That's how you grow. But back to like, don't let your latest be your greatest, and always push for the next thing. Have you found a balance to like appreciate those milestones for just a little bit? Like, for example, I signed a deal this morning, kind of a strategic partnership deal that we've been working on since February of last year. So it's been like 13 months.
Well, congrats, by the way.
Yeah, great deal. Awesome. I signed the DocuSign deal today, and like 30 seconds later, I'm on to the next thing. And I caught myself. I'm like, man, that's a big deal. Like, I'm fired up about that. And you got to like pause and just like recognize those moments, Like, do you find a balance there where you can like pause and just kind of, maybe it's with your wife, Maggie, or your family, like just kind of take it in for a minute?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think usually I'm very similar to you, where it's like just back to business, which I think is what, not to say this about myself or to say it about you, but like, I think that's what probably makes the greats great. It's like, yeah, you're grateful and you appreciate it, but it's just back to work. Like, it's just another day in the office. I'm not going to go take a month-long vacation just because I had a win. Even if I did go on vacation, I took my family, I'm still going to be working throughout it because I love the work. If you don't love the work, then yeah, that's an issue. But I don't know, man. I think that for me, I just enjoy what I do so much that I keep it pretty minimal. But I'm going to be grateful, to me, and not to make it religious, but just like thankful to God, like for the situation that I'm in. And I have to catch myself. I'll say this, where I have to catch myself is like all the little problems I think I have now are the things that I literally prayed 4 years ago. All the travel, it's like this retreat, and that retreat, and this event, and getting asked to speak here, do this podcast. And dude, in the last 18 months, it was like, I just reached a point where I was like, I'm not doing podcasts. I'm not speaking. I'm not traveling unless I absolutely have to. And I realized like, dude, these are problems I prayed for. That's not being cliche. Literally, like actually prayed for a couple of years ago. You could probably go scroll my old Facebook account and see where I said, one day I'm going to be on podcasts. One day I'm going to be on, one day I'm going to be a multi-millionaire. And I'm thankful for that.
I agree. Yeah, I was thinking about that this week. I'm going on vacation tomorrow. So it's Wednesday right now. I probably put in a 40-hour work week in 3 days already, and just not normal, but just kind of jamming a lot in. And, you know, you want to complain, you want to feel bad about yourself for a minute. You want to, you know, feel bad, like, oh, I wish I could get more sleep or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like, dude, yeah, I'm grateful to be busy. So good perspective there, brother. All right. So Hunter, you've obviously been on a lot of stages, about podcasts, talking about your journey, your success and things like that. Like, kind of touched on it already with your story with Turner and the self-doubt and working through that. I think that would be really good use of our time today because, man, there's a lot of people that go through that. They might see someone like you, or they might see someone like me, or whoever it might be, like, man, like, you know, or they might see another roofing company in their market or the industry or on social media, like, oh man, why does it always seem to come easy to that guy? Like, he's got it all figured out. Like, why do I have to go through these challenges, or why can't I figure this out? And, you know, when you get into those rooms and communities, you realize like everyone goes through the same stuff, and not just the business challenges, but like I said, the self-doubt, you know, the challenges with maybe their marital relationship because they're working too much, feelings of guilt because you're not spending enough time with your kids, letting your health and fitness go because you're too busy or you're too stressed, all those sorts of things. We all go through that, right? So let's talk about that a little bit. How did you get through that period? So it was about a 1.5 year period, huh?
Yeah. It really started, honestly, like end of 2021-ish, because I could feel the tension mountain with that company that had acquired Cornerstone. They had made me an offer to take over as CEO of that entire company. And me and the current CEO, didn't really see eye to eye on some things. Value-wise, I didn't feel good about it. I was worried about some things and taking on the liability. And so I turned that down, and it just started going downhill from there, man, our relationship. And so I felt, you know, the tension building. And then that lawsuit dropped in the beginning of 2022. And not just the lawsuit, that there's a lawsuit and all this money at stake that I worked so hard for, but the things that they said about me. And some of them, like, it really, in a way, was a blessing because some of the things they said about me were so easy to disprove. Like, someone like you could go in there and be like, okay, I'm looking at these guys and I'm looking at Hunter, and I'm going to go do the research on some of the things that they've said. And you could find it publicly that it was not true. So, you know, those things were good. Some of the other stuff that you couldn't just go publicly prove, we had to go through the process and hire the attorneys and send stuff to the judge. And so it was, once we got into it, about 2 months into it, it was solid because the judge was starting to say things to them like, hey, this doesn't line up. You're seeing X, Y, Z, and the facts, the proof, the documents, the emails, they don't say that. So I started feeling better about that. But while all that's happening, I'm having all these, I'll say friends. If you're not watching this live, I'm giving little quotations. Friends who I thought were my friends at the time, turning their back on me, talking crap, posting on Facebook, blocking my phone number when I'm reaching out to them. Like, dude, it was intense. That was way worse than the actual lawsuit because all these people that I thought were my friends were really just waiting for my downfall. And instead of having the, you know, decency to reach out and say, hey, Hunter, I at least want to hear your side. No, they didn't do that. I remember guys like you and Erico and other people that were at least like, hey, man, what's going on with this? You know, you know, talk about it. You're good. And that's fine. If I had done something wrong, I'd have been completely fine with you guys shutting me off. That's fine. But for people to turn their back on me, people that you know, it's easy for anyone to say this, but I'm a guy that wants to give more value than I take. And I think you speak to that. And like for people that I felt like I was way ahead on the scorecard of giving to them, for them to just cut me off and not even ask about the situation, man, it was really hurtful. And not to be like a little baby about it, but it was, man. Like, I'm just a people person. I care about people, and it hurt. And so I dealt with that for, you know, the first 8 months or so of 2022 until we finished the suit. And then we came out of the suit smelling like roses. Like I said, we got to keep the cash, keep millions in shares, and got the company back. And so that was kind of like my screw you guys. That's what it felt like. When I came out of it, I was like, to all you people who doubted me, like, you could have done some simple research to see who was in the right, screw you guys. Thank you for doing me a favor and really ridding yourself of me so that I can focus on the people who actually care about me. But then I moved straight from that season, which was the worst season of my life, without a doubt, to the second worst season of my life, which was losing $1 million on RoofCon. We go into that. Things are great. We're bringing in big speakers. All the things are happening. Hurricane hits. Ticket sales are not as good as we think. We still had, I think most people don't know this. We still grew by like 50%. We went from like 21 or 2,200 in 2021 to 3,400 in 2022. But just the money wasn't there for the stage we built out. I don't know if you went in that side of the show. It was built out like a concert, lights and just everything. And obviously bringing Tebow and Maxwell and Nick Santastasso and all the people cost a lot. So lost all that money, and it was just, man, it was 2 rough seasons back to back. And that lasted, dude, until last year, September, went to Africa for an event where I spoke at, did some like mission work. It was great. I think it was the 3rd night I was there on the trip. I woke up and I just couldn't sleep. It was like 3 a.m. Sorry, I can't sing. I can't play any instruments, but I enjoy writing. Now, I don't know chorus or bridge or any of that stuff. So I just walk outside in Africa at like 3 a.m. in the morning, and I just start writing this song, and it's called Need You Down. It's a faith-based song about God and just, needing him. And I write this song, and I wait till like 7 a.m. when the rest of the team, they start getting up, and Joey gets up, which is JP Wilson with Patriot. It's video guide. He was there. Worked for us, and he does like worship pastor stuff at his church. And so I was like, hey man, music, like help me frame this up, chorus and bridge and all the things. So he did. We spent a couple of days. Dylan Mullins was there. He helped us. And so the last day, the night we're going to leave, we decide to sing this song together, like actually record it. And we had a group of 4 Ugandans there. They had like a praise team, 1 boy, 3 girls. They came in and kind of sang in the background as the chorus. And dude, it was awesome. And we stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning doing the song together outside in this little venue thing. And at like 3 a.m., we're out there praying, huddled up all around. The Ugandans wanted to pray for the Americans first. And as they're praying, I had only seen mosquitoes one time while I was over there. And it was the night before. We had a restaurant. They were flying around, but they had candles on the table, so they weren't messing with us, but I could see them flying. That's the only other time I saw mosquitoes. Well, while the Ugandans were praying for us, dude, I had flip-flops on. Boom, 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 just pegging my feet. And I'm like stepping on my feet back and forth. I open my eyes. I see like 1 or 2 other people that had flip-flops on doing the same thing. So they finished, and I felt so bad, but I was like, hey guys, can we as Americans like just sit down and openly pray for you? Because I didn't want to keep standing up and have my eyes closed. I was trying to keep the mosquitoes off of me.
They probably thought you were dancing, right? Like your feet moving all around.
Yeah. Well, I come back, and like 2 weeks later, start getting sick, man. And I didn't really think anything about it because it was 2 weeks. I had no clue that the incubation period for malaria was 2 weeks. I'm doing Fearless 44. If you don't know what that is, challenge we started in 2019. And I'm doing Fearless 44. I'm like a week, 2 weeks, couple weeks, something like that in at this point. And I'm feeling rough. And during my Facebook Live that you have to do during Fearless, Eric Mills, which is a Revolt member that has an orphanage in Uganda, sees me. He wasn't on the trip, but he saw me, and he's like, hey man, have you got checked for malaria? Like, you look rough, like you possibly have malaria. And I'm like, no, dude, surely I'm fine, whatever. Then he hits me up again, and he's like, hey man, I had a buddy last year go. He got it, didn't take it serious. His doctor didn't take it serious. He ended up dying. And so now he's getting in my head because I'm like, oh, my kids, my wife, Revolt, like all the things. And then he hit Maggie up and was like, Maggie, you need to take him to the hospital. And so we ended up, I was laying in the shower, dude, just like shivering. It was unreal. Like, I can't even explain it. Unlike anything else I've ever experienced before. Like, you sweat so bad and feel like you're freezing. The entire bed would just be soaked. And the first time I wasn't throwing up or sitting on the pot or anything like that. And so I go in, they check me, and they're like, yeah, probably not malaria. You know, my family doctor actually told me not to go to the hospital. This is a Wednesday. Told me not to go until the next Monday. I go on a Wednesday. They say that had I waited till Friday, I would have died.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had a wild emotions just thinking, how close to death you really could have been just by being stubborn, you know, because I'm just not a doctor guy. I've never been a doctor, done surgery. Like, I don't like medication, any of that stuff. And people are like, you didn't take the vaccine for malaria. I'm like, well, for one, there's not a vaccine for malaria. There's like preventative pills that you can take. And no, I probably would not have taken the vaccine either.
Right.
But I go in, I do the thing, I come back out, think I'm good. They tell me 0.0 in my blood. I go to like a Need to Breathe concert. I'm jamming it up. Everything's good. And I start getting real sick again. Now, the whole time, the 2 weeks in between, I didn't have good energy, but like I wasn't sick. And I started getting sick again. And this time it's worse. And I'm like throwing up. I'm on the pot. It was just bad, dude. And so we go back this time to the big hospital locally. And I just tell them, like, I don't know how this is possible, but I have to have it again. And they're like, no, there's no way you have it again. Like, we checked your blood. But they checked me and I had it again. And I had E. coli. And so they were like pretty worried. The way they told me I had E. coli, they knew that I had something. When they came in, they were like, hey, Mr. Ballew, do you remember back in the day, the breakout with Jack in the Box and the E. coli? And I was like, yeah, when all the people died. And they're like, yeah, well, you've got that kind. So, and I don't just say this for the podcast. It was just funny during the talk because I kept thinking about it. They said that me and JP, because JP got it too, had the worst kind of malaria, and then I had the worst kind of E. coli because there's two kinds. There was one night in the hospital, man, when it was like, I'm believing that God's protecting me and that I had the calling on my life and I'm good and I'm not going to die. But I just remember thinking, if I'm going to die, it's tonight.
Wow.
My stomach, I couldn't, like Max is there with me. Like, my body was trying to throw up, but there was nothing left. And this is self-diagnosis, but I think it was so much that like my diaphragm swelled up or something and I couldn't breathe. Like, I was struggling to breathe. And yeah, it was insane, man. But so the second time I went, the first time they wouldn't give me extra treatment. Like, JP's people gave him 1.5 treatments on the first round and he got rid of it. So I asked them for that. And they're like, no, it's toxic. Like, the stuff we give you is toxic. It's not good for you either. So we're not going to give you any more than we need to. Well, the second time I was a little more stern and I'm like, look, if I come back, I'm nice this time. Like, I was really nice to the people. Like, I'm like, I get stuff happens, but I want a second treatment. Like, keep me here until I go through the second treatment. I do not want to come back. If I have to come back, I'm going to be pissed. Like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And just sitting in that room and thinking about it and knowing that you could not be here anymore is a crazy feeling. But even beyond that, 2 things that happened to me. One, I was there in October and I was there. I'm not a huge news guy, but I was there when Israel got attacked. And I turned on the TV to check that out. And a commercial came on for St. Jude's and all the kids. And I just remember thinking, like, I'm here and the chances of me being good are like very high. For a lot of these kids, it's not. And I just remember getting super emotional in my hospital bed, thinking about how grateful I am for life and that I get to do this life. And that all the stuff that has happened over at this point in the last 18 months that I mentioned, like, none of it matters, dude. None of it matters. Like, I got a lawsuit. Some people said some stuff about me that wasn't true. Some people believed it and turned their back on me. You know, I lost money on an event. Like, none of that stuff matters. I'm going to get through it. I'm going to figure it out. Worst case scenario, if you're listening to this and you're in a bad financial spot, worst case scenario, you file bankruptcy and you take a little bit of hit to your ego. And the reality is, it's likely that unless you tell someone, nobody knows. Nobody even knows about it. There's plenty of billionaires that have filed bankruptcy, you know? Like, and I'm just talking about one of the money things. There was other factors to that, like I said, with friends and the lawsuit and allegations and that stuff. But dude, I just realized none of it matters. And I got out of there and they sent me to for some reason, it was like they sent me to the cancer treatment building to check my blood. And when I went in there, I'm in Greenville, South Carolina. You know, that's the big city close by. So I went to their hospital and there's 1 million people in the upstate and 1.5 million in the upstate. I just looked at it today, actually. And I walked into that treatment center just expecting to go in there and get blood. Number one, you start looking at people with cancer and realizing how grateful you are. Number two, while I was in there, I saw 2 people that I knew from the upstate. One of them I knew had cancer. The other I didn't know had cancer. And just, dude, you talk about the level of gratitude for just having life and having another shot and knowing that God has a calling on my life and I got to fulfill it and I got to quit being a baby and stressing all the time and just give it to him and say, you know what? I'm going to let you handle this. I'm going to go out there and do the work, and I'm going to trust that it's all going to be okay. Even if I fell real big and I got to take a hit to the ego, I'm going to figure it out and I'm just going to keep going. So that was big for me, man. It changed a lot. I started getting more involved with some of the companies that I'd kind of taken some time away from, including Cornerstone. You know, I told you pre-show, we were talking, like, it was like I just didn't feel worthy. I felt so bad that, like, I'd sold the company. These people had to go through that. And then, you know, here I come back in the picture and Hunter's back, and I didn't feel worthy to be there. And so just in the last few months, since all that, man, I've been getting more involved and showing these people that I love them, and we're still going after the mission that we set out to hit from the beginning. So it's been good, man. I'm rejuvenated, more involved, having fun, working with our personal companies, working with our partner companies we help out. It's been a lot of fun.
Man, what a journey. Wow. Glad you're here, brother. Glad you're here. I remember that whole thing, touch and go, right before RoofCon, right? You weren't sure if you're going to make it to RoofCon.
Yeah.
Or make it to anything for that matter. But
like the week before.
Yeah. Wow. Unbelievable. So you look at that as a blessing now to have given you that perspective that maybe you were lacking at that period in your life.
Oh, absolutely. And actually, you know, Cole Taylor.
Yep.
The rewarded man spoke. I was on a podcast with him the other day, and I was telling him something similar about the song "Need You Now," and this didn't even hit me until he said it on the podcast. I told my wife today because I forgot to tell her the other day, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, that is so cool!" But when I think back to that song, "Need You Now," God, I need you now. God, I feel you now. God, I love you now. Is how the song goes. God, I need you now. I got malaria literally right after we recorded the song, like within minutes. We finished recording the song. We prayed. I got bit, got malaria. We know for sure that's when it happened. JP would tell you the same thing. Not even 3 months later, I'm in malaria. A month later, in the hospital, and it's, God, I need you now.
Yeah.
Trust that you're going to get me through this because I can't do it myself. And I didn't even really put those things together until Cole said that on that podcast live. And I was like, man, how cool is that we were writing that song, I got it, and then I had to trust him through that process. Like, I didn't really tie the things together, even though that's what happened.
That is wild, man. That's funny how he works, right? Unbelievable. Crazy. So, like, you're telling the story, you've been through malaria, going to the cancer wing of the hospital, getting that perspective, like, in person, living through that. Sometimes I personally find it difficult to, like, get that perspective on a daily basis, right? Because we get so wrapped up in our own stuff. It's like, I didn't get that client I wanted, or we lost a client, or, we can't find the right people. Like, we lose perspective on what it really is. Do you have any recommendations for me or anyone listening to, like, get that daily dose of perspective, without going through malaria and almost dying? I'd rather not have to do that,
Yeah, man. I mean, one of the things that we have people do during Fearless 44 is called Fulfillment 50, where there's 5 different elements. And the first element is blessings, writing down 10 blessings. And so for 44 days, the first day you write down your 10 blessings. And for the next 43 days, you're reviewing those blessings every single day. So for me, I mean, I know that sounds simple, but I promise you, we've had thousands of people do Fearless 44 over the last 5-6 years now across the world, people in South Africa and India, and it's been really cool to see it. And when you start your day by looking at those things, it just kind of sets the tone for your entire day when you review what you have to be grateful for. And that's something we do at every Revolt Extra trip. When we wake up in the morning, we do our little circle and a little workout, and we pause in the middle of the workout and take a breath and close our eyes and just think, what do I have to be grateful for? And think deep too, not to say don't do this, but your family and your house and your job, those things are great, but what else do you have? Your health, the opportunity, the fact that you live in America. There's so many things to be grateful for. One other thing I'd say is, looking at a couple of books like The Difference Maker, John Maxwell, great one. I have every team member read that when they come into the company. It's about attitude, having a positive attitude. So reading that, The Difference Maker by John Maxwell. And then another one is The Man's Search for Meaning, that book by Viktor Frankl. Great one of my favorite quotes ever, where he talks about attitude and how even through the Holocaust, suffering through that, almost being killed daily for however long he was in there, it's the last of God's given gifts to be taken away. Like, you get to choose your attitude. You get to control your attitude no matter what happens. If a dude cuts you off in the middle of traffic, if a dude steals your hamburger at the shop and you were first and he steals your hamburger, you can be pissed off. But the reality is the action and your reaction are completely different things. They're not saying, they're not tied together. So you can't be like, well, I got mad and I brake checked the dude because he tried to run me off the road. Dude, I've been there. Trust me. I've been known to get pissed in traffic when people are stupid, but it's something I'm way better at than I used to be because I've started to understand that. Not to say I'm 100%, just like anything. You don't bat 100%, but you get better and you have the awareness. And when you read the books and you do your blessings, you think about it more. It's top of mind. You're mindful of it. So it's easier to live in that space.
Oh, 100%. You're right. I was going to say the awareness factor too. Like, unfortunately, it's reality with kids. Sometimes I react in a way that I don't love to kids. Maybe I'm raising my voice or just not responding in the way that I want. And just being aware of that's huge. And then going to the kids and be like, hey, I didn't respond in the way that I really wanted to, and I messed up. Like, we're always learning and improving, one of my core values. So that awareness is key. And the gratitude, the daily gratitude, I do that every day with the G Code app, 5 things I'm grateful for every morning. And I try to incorporate some bigger things, right? Like, I'm thankful for our family's health, our business's momentum. But then I try to incorporate a couple smaller things, like I'm thankful for a sunny day. If it's been like a gray winter here in New Jersey, right? Like, a sunny day is like a gift. Or I'm thankful for the joy that our dog brings to our family, those little things. And it really does help to rewire your brain. Like, it's really, it's awesome.
That's good, man.
So you run this, you run RoofCon, you run Revolt, you run some other things I probably didn't even know about. And you've got people that are coming to your events. You got people that are joining Revolt, coming to different things that you're involved in. And I know you're not going to want to answer this, but that's why I want to ask it. Because they want a piece of Hunter. Like, they want to be in your presence. They want to get a picture with Hunter to post on Facebook, or they just want you to be like, hey man, that's a great idea. You should run with it. Or, you're really good at giving really quick advice on the fly, I think. Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think that people gravitate toward Hunter? Because I was talking about this with someone on your team yesterday, actually.
I don't know if that's true. Secondly, if people want a piece of me, I don't know how much Maggie's going to like that, my wife, but we'll see. Something I heard a phrase recently. My coach actually told me this like a month ago, and I like that he said it. It was that I let people borrow confidence. My confidence, and I've always said it in a different way. Like, I believe in people more than they believe in themselves. And I could give you so many examples of that, man. Like, if someone says, I want to do X, but I don't think I can. I'm usually the guy that's like, you can. You just got to do X, Y, Z, and you got to go all in, and you got to trust the process. And there's going to be some risk, and you just got to weigh the risk and reward. And so I've always looked at it as that. Like, in fact, every year I post, I'm sure you've seen it. And in fact, I think you've responded to it before, where I say, what do you believe my God-given gift is? I want you to tell me what you think Hunter's God-given gift is. And usually it comes down to 2 things. It's either A, that I'm really good at building communities and bringing people together, or B, that I believe in people more than they believe in themselves. So that's kind of always the way I've said it. But I think that the way my coach said it is spot on. It's like, if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe this can work, I'll let you borrow my confidence in you. And so I think sometimes people just need that, man. They just need someone to tell them, like, whether it's their spouse is negative and doesn't believe in them, which is the hardest thing for me, because I just want to be very direct and like tell their spouse, like, yeah, not be so nice. But yeah, it's frustrating, man, because too many people they don't go after their dreams because they have that little negative chirping in their ear, and they need someone to tell them, hey, it's okay. It's just a part of life. And you're never going to experience that success if you don't give it a try.
Yeah. I'm one of those people, man. I need to borrow belief. And, you can say, hey, if you don't believe in yourself, then you've got problems. Well, maybe I've got problems. I don't know. But our mutual friend, Mike Claudio, who was my business coach 2022, that's pretty much the primary reason that I hired Mike as my one-on-one business coach, is because he believed in me more than I believed in myself. And I needed to borrow that And I talked about that on Eric O's podcast. We were out in Denver one time. And it's true. I mean, I need that, right? Because sometimes we get so wrapped up and self-doubt. And fortunately, I don't think I've ever had anyone say like, hey, I don't believe in you, or people, just not supporting me. I've been blessed. I've grown up in a very supportive family environment, communities, and everything like that. So I don't get the negative chatter from outside. Unfortunately, it comes from inside for whatever reason. So I got to work on that. But I like that. Like, I like to hang out people like you and Mike Claudio and people that can be like, man, you got so much, Benny, our mutual friend, Benny Fisher, Big Fish, like, you've got so much potential. You should do this, you should do that. And I'll be like, yeah, you think I could do that? Like, yeah, no problem. Like, if that guy can do it, you can do it. Right.
I think anyone that's telling you that they don't deal with self-doubt is just absolutely full of crap. I mean, I think you have to be an absolute narcissist not to have some form of self-doubt.
How do you overcome that on a daily basis? Like today, like when you wake up, all right. So I think there's people that, they might look at whoever their kind of influencer is, right? In a positive way, right? Because we all kind of, look at people like maybe John Maxwell or maybe like Dan Martell or someone like that. Like, oh, that guy's just crushing it on multiple levels. Thinking that those guys wake up and are just like jumping out of bed and just ready to just go crush the day. And that's just not the case, right? Like, I've heard Andy Frisella talk about that a lot. You wake up, self-doubt, you're nervous. You're like, man, I don't want to do this. I'm tired. Like, how do you kind of coach yourself through that?
Yeah, I think Dan's a great example that's kind of bust on the scene in the last couple of years. I've been following him for 3 or 4 years now. Bought into his coaching program a while ago. When he launched his book, I bought $60,000 worth of books from him, and
wow.
helped facilitate that to try to help him hit bestseller, and got to go to his house up in Canada for doing that, spend a day with him coaching. And like, he is a stud, man. I mean, stud. And I've got so much respect for him. I'm actually, oh man, I wish I could say something here. I can't, but it has to do with Dan Martell. I might tell you off air, but anyways.
Yeah, I could take a good guess, but I'll hold it to myself.
Yeah. But yeah, just like an absolute stud. I mean, he's that guy for me. Like, I don't follow many people hardcore. Like, even John and some of his stuff, I've read so many of his books. Like, I don't follow him daily. Dan is one of the only dudes that I like follow daily for inspiration, because to me, he's just super well-rounded. Like, he's a great faith. He's a great husband, great dad, in shape, runs some businesses, coaches people like I coach people. Like, he's just a stud, and he just knows his niche. He focuses on SaaS. He doesn't do anything outside of that. He focuses on SaaS, what he's good at. And I respect that. I follow it. But I know for sure he has those off days, and he's talked about it. He's got his book, Buy Back Your Time. Check that out for sure. But for me, man, I think it's just having that bigger, there we go.
I was actually doing a training on it today for our mastermind group. So it's on my desk. Yeah.
Nice. We gave like 300 away at RoofCon, because I had tons of them just sitting here. I was giving them away at all the retreats, and I was like, No, but man, I think just having that bigger mission and bigger goal. I talk about having a common mission a lot inside of your company. And so if you're locked in on that, and it's something outside of the money that you can make personally, the money that the business can make, but it's something like, whatever you're passionate about. For us, it's kids. And even more specifically, it's usually underprivileged kids. And like, how can we serve them? That's within our foundation. Within Revolt, it's the mission of, how do we develop leaders that go out and impact lives? And that matters to us. Like, it really matters to us. And so pushing every day, I think that we just have to work towards that so we get the outcome we want. And knowing that if we don't do the work, if we let the self-doubt take over, we're not going to be able to reach those millions of people we committed to reach.
That's so true, man. Having that big why, that North Star. Was it Maxwell who said that success is about us, significance is about others?
Yeah.
Is that him? Yeah. I mean, that's great. Cause like, I think we all go through that, right? We start our business. We need to make a certain amount of money. We want to build a certain, lifestyle, if it may be something like that. And we get to that point, that's all about us and maybe our family. And I think you get to the point where its significance is about enabling others, developing leaders. So that's powerful.
When I left the fire department, the first coach I ever hired actually was not that good, to be honest with you. But he had me do this exercise, and I'm convinced this is not even why he had me do the exercise, but it's what I got out of it. He said, I want you to write down 100 goals for your life, like 100 things that you want to accomplish and have and things like that. And so I remember I was actually, before I bought this building, when I was just renting one little office, I was in the front corner office and I was writing those notes out. And I got to about 20 and it was like, I want 500 acres. I want a boathouse. I want this. I want that. And the first 20 things or so were about me. And then I kind of ran out of things for me. And I realized, wow, I've got 80 things left and I don't need anything else, you know? And it started becoming about, I want to remodel my grandma's house. I want to take my grandparents to Hawaii. I want to do this and do that. And so, yeah, man, that completely ties in. And I think it's absolutely true.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I mean, I have a vision board. I have goals, but I kind of struggle to like, I don't want a Lambo, things like that, right? I kind of struggle to add things to that sometimes because we get to a certain level and it's like, yeah, you want to spend time with the people that you want to spend time with. You want to have some freedom of time, you know, financial freedom, and, you know, like traveling is a big thing for me. But yeah, I resonate with that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
What's your relationship with your wife, Maggie, like? I think she runs Revolt, the Women's Revolt now. Is she involved in anything else that you do, or?
Yeah, mainly that.
Okay.
You know, she helped out with the foundation, getting that off, and we hired someone full-time to help run the foundation because part of our model is getting Revolt members, coaches that we have across the U.S. to run the Life 101 events to bring kids together and train them. And so we hired Alicia to run that full-time, and Maggie kind of stepped into the role of helping run retreats and the calls and everything for the ladies inside our Revolt, which has been really cool, man. It's been cool to see that. When you talk about leadership, something that for her a couple of years ago, she started feeling this conviction of like, I need to step up. I need to be more involved. And I'm just called to do this because I'm Hunter's wife. And like, obviously God wants me to do this. Well, if I'm being real honest, and she'll probably see this and get mad at me, but you know, she's gone through that season of self-doubt too, where she's just like, this shouldn't be me. This should be someone else. Like, I'm not the person involved with Cornerstone every day. I'm not the person that grew Cornerstone. Like, I shouldn't be running Ladies Revolt when there's business owners and stuff that come in there. And, you know, my thing to her, for one, is the same thing we were talking about. Like, I just believe in people. So I believe in her. I know she can do it. I know she's qualified. But I just told her, like, the reason you say you can't and the reason you say, like, you're not good enough and you shouldn't be that person is the exact reason you should be. And I want you to be, is because you're not doing it for the fame and the fortune. You're not doing it because you want your name to be, oh, I'm the leader of Ladies Revolt. You know how many people we had approach us over the years about doing Ladies Revolt, dude? A lot.
I bet, yeah.
It never felt right because it was always about the money for them, or they wanted their name to be tied to it. And it was never about the people. And so Maggie is the answer. Maggie doesn't care about the fame or any of that stuff. And that's exactly why I love her being in that role. So it's been cool, man. She's been stepping up, dialing in stuff, getting processes done. I just walked in before this podcast. She was getting new welcome boxes done, and just, yeah, it's cool to see her get more involved and dial in some of the processes we have to make people feel more like family.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, real leaders don't need credit. So it seems like she's that person. She wants to be a leader, but she doesn't need the credit. And I mean, she must be, I know her a tiny bit. I'm not going to say I know her well at all. Just haven't spent a lot of time with her, but like, you're a guy that's got a lot going on. You're traveling all over the place. You're going to Africa. You're going to all sorts of events. You're hosting retreats. How do you guys manage that? Because I travel a decent amount, probably not quite as much as you, but there's a lot of intention that goes into that. You've got 2 kids. I've got 2 kids. A lot of communication, just a lot of, you know, just, you've got to work on that, right? You're out doing all these exciting things, and she's got some exciting things going on too now. But like, you know, my wife doesn't really, she's not traveling with me. She's not, you know, going to events and things like that. I'm out and about doing all those things. And we got to balance that and have that communication like rock solid. How do you guys manage that?
I wish I could give you a good answer on this, but I'm just being completely honest with you, man.
Yeah.
Like, it is very free for all, and she's a saint, man. Like, I'm just not like, I know you have those guys like you and Mike and people that are like, and Dan Martell, they're like, I'm going to schedule in every minute of my day. And I'm just not that guy. Like, I go with the flow a lot more. For me to schedule out my day like that feels like prison, which takes the fun out of it, which takes the motivation out of it, and puts me in a state of depression, and I don't want to do anything. Now, I've gotten a lot better. Like, I hired an EA, And so we schedule like our internal meetings. If I have an external meeting, it goes on the calendar. Everything's color coded, so I know if it's offsite, if it's travel, if it's a speaking engagement, if it's a money meeting that I need to prioritize, it's green. It's like I have those things. Maggie has access to my calendar, but yeah, like it's not super dialed in to where we're having this great communication every night. She's just amazing, to be honest with you. It's not a great answer for your listeners, but I'm just being real with you.
No, that's cool, man.
For me, I'm very much more of a free flow guy. And I operate well in chaos is a good word, but not even just chaos. Like I just operate well when it's go time. And so like when the day comes, I feel like I have this natural balancing of like, I need to go spend time with the kids. Or if I get home late, then maybe it's, hey, I'm going to stay at home till 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. And I'm going to spend time with them because my kids aren't in school yet, So yeah, I definitely try to balance it well. Some other things that I do though, like, our 6 bricks that we have that I coach on a good bit. And one of those being relationships, I schedule that stuff in. So like quarterly, me and Maggie do a getaway, no matter what, every single quarter, just spend time together with nobody else, no kids, every quarter, minimum. With my son, Turner, every single month, we do a boys' night where we're going out on town, whether it's Frankie's Fun Park and racing go-karts, or we're doing putt-putt or going to the movies or hiking or riding four-wheelers or fishing or whatever. Like we're going out and we're spending dedicated father-son time no matter what. And then last year we started the father-son retreat. And so last year we had like 10 different sets of father-sons come. This year we're selling like 20 spots. We sold like half of those. And so that's a dedicated trip where just me and Turner get to spend time together.
That's cool. That's cool that you can design your life around those things that are important to you. And I'm not as structured as like maybe Martel or Claudio. You might think that, but you did message me. Hunter messaged me an hour before this podcast recorded. He's like, hey, I'm free now. And like when I got that message, I kind of like twitched. I'm like, what do you mean? We're not scheduled till 5. Like it's 4:10. Like, no,
I was just saying if you needed to move it up for a game or anything, your kids.
No, I appreciate that. But like, yeah, that's just it. It's just, I was like, that kind of like, it's like a micro stressor. I'm like, no, we're good at 5. With the spousal thing with the, husband and wife or the partner, it comes down to, that shared vision, right? Like when I go on a trip, whether it's, if it's a Revolt trip or, some other thing that I'm doing for business. It's funny, my wife doesn't really ask any questions because she knows that if I'm gonna like go on a trip, that it's like there's an insane amount of value. Like there's a reason I'm doing it, and I've already calculated it, and I've already calculated the opportunity cost. And I'm not going to play golf. I'm not going to. Well, some of the Revolt retreats we're having some fun, but she sees those pictures of like the quads and everything. She's like, oh yeah, it's a work trip, huh? But besides the Revolt, it's all business, man. It's packed. Those trips, it's packed. Like. It's nuts. So it comes out of that common vision and just like the values that you have. And again, back to the why you're doing it. So what are you excited about this year, man? You've got a lot going on. What are you pumped about this year? It's almost end of Q1 already.
Dude, there's so much, Rep Card. I don't know if you're familiar with Rep Card. That's going great. We had 100,000 users. Brad and the team over there are killing it. I've been like back and forth on if I'm going to start my second book. I already know what it is. I already have the outline. And it's going to be the 6 bricks that I teach on. And I've actually already written most of the children's book for that. That's going to teach kids how to use the 6 bricks and structure their life around it and goal set around it. So those things are cool. I'm excited about that. RoofCon is going to be freaking great this year. Diego's crushing it. The team's crushing it. Growth Partnership, Revolt, just all the things, man. I guess one of the things I'm most excited about right now, this moment, is I created this assessment, and it's like 24 questions that I've come up with over time, and I've like built out a scoring system on the back end so people can take this assessment. It takes like 3 to 4 minutes for them to go through if they're a business owner, and based on their answers, it'll give them the results showing where they're weakest in their business, and then based on that, it'll give them free training. And it's just a great way for us to help business owners. Give them some free resources. And then if it makes sense, then we talk about Revolt. If not, and they got some free stuff out of it, they can join our free community.
Oh, I like that. Our team just went through, Patrick Lencioni?
Yeah. Dude, I just read one of his and I loved it. Yeah.
Is that the 6 Working Geniuses?
No, I read the 5 Temptations of Every CEO.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one too. I love his books, man. But the 6 Working Geniuses, I don't want to say it's similar to yours because I don't know yours, but it's a quick assessment. There's 6 like kind of areas of the business where you're going to be each person is going to be really strong at 2. You're going to be weak at 2, and you're going to be like just like mediocre at 2. And those things, if they're done right, like I said, the scoring system on the back end are like scary accurate, you know? So we're just actually talking
to people through it, and it's been cool to see. I mean, the resource doc we have built out is good. Like every one of them is not like some sales pitch. It's like, we're going to give you 3 actual tools that you can use to build your business. And so it's been solid. We've been getting great feedback on it.
That's cool, man. I mean, that's been something I focused on over the last 2 years as, you know, we implement EOS. So there's some tools there, but some other stuff as well. Predictive index, just understanding that as a leader, as a person, as a business owner, I think we have this expectation. I used to have it that I needed to be great at all areas. And you take an assessment like this, and it's like, oh, no wonder I get frustrated when I'm doing that thing, or no wonder that like that thing zaps my energy completely, or this other thing I could just do for days on end and, you know, not even eat or drink anything, you know? So those are really telling and really helpful to be able to play to your strengths.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Cool, man. All right. Well, I want to be cognizant of your time. Anything else you want to leave with the audience, Hunter, before we kind of sign off here?
No, man. I mean, if you want to check me out, I'm on Facebook. I don't really do all the different social platforms. I'm mainly on Facebook, Hunter Ballew. You can check me out. And if you want that profit booster scorecard, the free one, the assessment, just hit me up in Facebook. You can message me and I'll send it, or you just go to it. It's thererevolt.com/booster and check it out.
All right, brother, man. It's always a pleasure. I feel like we could chat for hours. Great to catch up. I appreciate you sharing with our audience today, and look forward to catching up soon, my man.
Thanks, brother.
All right, guys, hope you enjoyed that casual conversation with my good buddy, Hunter Ballew. Really good dude. Give him a follow on Facebook. Make sure that you reach out, get that assessment that he's talking about there at the end. He actually sent that to me and I forgot to do it. So my bad, I got to do that, right? He's a really good guy, really good leader, runs a bunch of different organizations, and just a real down-to-earth human being. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of it. Please subscribe, hit that button below if you're watching on YouTube. If you are listening to it on your podcast, make sure you subscribe to the podcast as well. We've got at least 2 episodes coming to you guys every single week, and we're really stepping it up now that we've passed the 200 episode mark with our Nailed It podcast. So guys, thank you so much. Please share this out. Please subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.